Hey, what's up, everybody? So, people are asking me, like, I've talked about how my health issue was a spiritual thing. I also think it was hereditary and stuff like that. But people are asking me, how can something like this be spiritual? What am I talking about? People are always saying these types of things, but they don't understand it. So I thought I would come on and try to explain how this is how spiritually a disease can manifest. Now, this is very multifaceted. It could be numerous things from many different angles. Mine is from many different angles too, but one of them, this one is pretty rare. What happened to me? Mine goes into is similar, but not as extreme as this man had, the book of Job. So what happened in the book of Job was, this is in the Old Testament, the Torah section, and then there's the New Testament. The devil comes to God and says, "Oh God, what I can do, I will make your servant Job disobey you if you allow me to destroy his life." And he's like, "Okay, just don't hurt him." So he burned his houses down, took his family away, screwed everything, but he stayed faithful to God. And, God was like, "There's no way you're going to make my servant disobey me." So then the devil comes back to God and says, "Okay, let me take his health." And he said, "Okay, do what you want, but just don't kill him," God says, just as a proof, as there's no way you can get Job, my servant, to disobey. So he ended up sick with ulcers all through his entire body, bedridden, a mess. He couldn't even deal with life. It was just ridiculously crazy. He lost everything, his money, everything. And then finally at the end, God restored him, made him healthy again, brought his family back, brought all his animals and cattle, and actually all his net worth, God doubled. So he gave everything back to him plus times 2. So now on a spiritual level, this first one has nothing to do with things that I did wrong, someone did wrong or anything like that. It was simply a proof to existence of a very good servant to God. Wow. So, and he was used in a very uncomfortable way. But I mean, imagine the blessings that he has on a spiritual level. So it could be as something like that, which has nothing. And then there's all sorts of other things, which is crazy. Now, in many of the scriptures, Jesus goes and removes spirits, unclean spirits from people on an ongoing basis, things like that. So if someone's now this is multifaceted too. If someone worships money or sex or anything like this on an ongoing basis, where they could get a spirit can enter them to where it's almost like a secondary unit that is aiding in that desire that's feeding off of you. And it's almost like it's in you, like a spirit. So it's partly you along with another person in your house. So it's he says, you clean it up and then 7 more come. And then so when I mess up with something like this, I do a lot of focusing. This is where people think meditation is so amazing, because you could use your focus to work on stuff like this. But that's not the truth. You could also use Jesus' name, which is the most powerful thing. No other God's name works like his does. But it's kind of foolish that if you do something like this, you remove this thing, in the Bible, they call them sometimes rudivipers, serpents, or whatever. He just unclean spirits, they just remove them. And then you allow it back in, it could be even more stronger by chance. So it's sometimes it's done in a slow way to where you learn and you don't want. And what it does is if you do these types of things, it causes suffering. When these spirits are entering you, it causes suffering. So when you worship some things like this, it causes suffering. And when you get it out, it just feels so good you don't want to do it anymore. And then there's other things we let people take advantage of us. Maybe a family member or a friend, we let them walk all over us. they try to take advantage of us. Like they'll come in and ask to borrow something. You don't feel good about it, but you don't know how to say no, or they want to live off of you, or they want to just drain your energy. And everybody has a spiritual body. And sometimes just being out and about, if you're not protected and you have weaknesses. And anyway, so there's all these spiritual bodies all throughout. It's almost like another physical world, but it's the spiritual world, but it can't be seen with this eye. Maybe like what people call the third eye. That's another metaphysical, non-biblical term, but we'll use it in terms of it's the eye that sees the spiritual world in biblical terms, and it's very real. You might have like a pain within your body somewhere, and it might be like I don't know if it's like an attachment, but I just call them tentacles because that's what it feels like. It could be like a tentacle embedded into your spiritual structure that actually manifests in the physical, in that area of the body where it might be, let's say, or you might have a pain on an ongoing basis, and it manifests in inflammation and pain and suffering. So what I use is, I'm on an ongoing basis, I'm always trying to remove things, clean myself up. I was actually granted the ability to do this on other people from Jesus Christ. It's been a wild ride. That's what I was doing at retreats and things like this. But it's easier to do on other people than on yourself, if you know what I mean. But then also there's the aspect of the other people could allow it back in if they allow someone to continue to take advantage of them, or they worship this or that. So it's I would never do it just like on my own accord, only if I was told to do it. In the past, I used to like do it all the time, and I would suffer like on a really crazy because I would have to deal with the crap. Anyway, so you could use your focus and attention to remove these things. So you could go into your like, where is the inflammation? Where is the pain? And I just will sit there and stare at it. And I kind of like, sometimes you like feel the pain, you don't want to look, but you got to look to get rid of it. And that's like and also that feeling of having to flip back and forth in bed where you can't sleep and it's really uncomfortable. A lot of people don't want to look at that type of thing. It's very intense sometimes. And sometimes you have to wait till the next day or whatever, but whatever. So sometimes you have to look for the pain and then discover where it's embedded. It's a very long, arduous process sometimes, but what I do, I'll just stare at it and stay with it, endure it to the point where I overpower it, and then it goes out, and it feels really good. There have been times where I've screwed up so badly where I have spent hours in a day doing something like that. Yes, so it's an ongoing mission. I was hoping that after removing my colon that I would be experiencing less of it because I thought I had a weakness there, but that's not the case. They're literally trying to kill me. But I'm doing really well. So the spiritual aspects. I don't even know if I should put this video out. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. So just a summary, the spiritual aspects could be anywhere from a test, which is not often. I mean, there are a lot of tests that happen, but some are more extreme than others. Like the test I was talking about was insane. You also have to have the faith, like I told you that it's really extreme right now. I mean, I still got to deal with it even though I removed it, but the faith that, God is not going to let me die. Jesus won't let me die, and he'll take good care of me. And then there's the aspects of letting people take advantage of you on an ongoing basis, letting them embed into your spiritual structure because of this. They're just feeding off of you, throwing your energy away. That's just other people. And then there's spirits that are always trying to come through and take your life away. If you have these things embedded in you, because Jesus would remove them from people, you don't have as much, I guess you could say life as you could. So this is one reason why it's good to not suffer and worship money and all these other things like that. And trust me, I'm not perfect. Worshiping anything like so money, greed, sex, power, power over other people, all sorts of things. Okay. I guess that's good for now. So that's what I'm talking about from a spiritual level. It could be being taken advantage of, our own issues, and on another spiritual level, like why would, the number one thing a person could do, in my opinion, is believe in Jesus in order to help heal your disease. That's like number one. That's like the number one thing you can do. And, the doubt's gonna come in and all these other things, but that's where you gotta stay the strongest. And that's your best shot that you got at anything. There might be, maybe it's allowed to happen to you, like disease embedded into your system because you don't believe. Or maybe because you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. We're all doing things we shouldn't be doing, but there's a lot of mercy there, especially if you believe in Jesus. And that's like the number one thing. Like, if you were to get anything from the Bible, it would be believe on Jesus Christ, believe in him. That's like the only thing you really have to do. You want to follow the 10 Commandments, of course, but that's where the mercy comes into play. So people think, the number one thing they could do for spirituality is to meditate and they're going to come enlightened and get to some point. No, the number one thing you could do is believe in Jesus Christ. There's nothing more powerful than this. This is like the only thing practically you need to do. That's number one. If you just dropped everything else and just did that, you're set for eternal life. You're set for life, and you're good. And then follow the 10 Commandments. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery. Ask for forgiveness when you screw things up before you believed and knew about Jesus. And we're coerced by negative entities such as, all right, guys.